Hello, I am the Goddess of Craziness. Welcome to my channel, where we embrace the crazy. Okay, so today's sculpture is taking us to the wondrous rainforest. I could have had many different inspirations from the rainforest, and we probably will revisit here again. But for today, we are going to sculpt us a lovely snake inspired by the viper. Okay, what you're gonna need is a 5x7 picture frame. I just got it from the dollar store. You're gonna want to take the backing off and take it all apart. You don't need this part, so just toss that in the recycle bin. And what you're going to want to do is you want to take this piece of glass out. And that's what we're going to need to be using. You just set the frame aside. We'll use it later. Okay, you're going to want to take some just plain white clay. It doesn't have to be white. We're going to paint it in the end. But this is what I had an abundance of. And I rolled this through my pasta machine on the thickest setting to get a nice even sheet. However, it was not quite wide enough, so here I'm using my rolling pin just to make it a little bit wider. See, now it fits. So you're going to want to make sure that you get it even, and you take your X-Acto and cut it out. And there we have it. Yes, it got a little dirty and it kind of looks like a weird little angry man. But here I'm taking my needle tool and I'm using it to create texture, and then I have a little bit of a tantrum because I messed it up. And then this other tool I'm using is just a weird shaped bead on the end of another needle tool. Now you're going to want to roll some snakes of clay like this, to make a snake. Doesn't need to be completely even all the way through, just enough to make a snake. And then you're going to take this big chunk and we're going to make a tree branch out of it. I'm just squishing it between my hands to create this texture. Yes, I realize it looks like something else. Get your mind out of the gutter. And, that's how you do that. Okay, now I am just taking my cone-shaped color shaper and I am just etching out designs in the background, leaves and of different shapes and sizes. Now you're going to take your tree branch and you cut it in half so it's not completely rounded. You're going to round off the edges there and take your needle tool and just create some bark lines. Now I'm just taking the end of my needle tool and roughly gauging where I want there to be a knot in the branch. And widen it a little bit with that eraser. Now we're going to figure out where we want it. Then we're going to wind our snake around it. There's probably an easier way to do this, and I'm sure you can leave me a comment down below, but I just did it this way because it looks a little bit more natural, like it would be if it was, draped around. I didn't put the entire footage of me doing it because there was quite a bit of cussing trying to get it right. See? Oh, I skipped through it. I just wanted to show you this part where it really starts to get hard because you have to, pull it through. Now you're going to take your X-Acto and very carefully you're going to be making cuts to remove everything that went behind your tree branch so that it once again lays flat. And then you take your color shaper and you just, blend it in. And now we're making the neck. And I did not put this part in, but I actually did make it bigger because the head that we made just winds up being a bit big for that small of a neck. But here I'm using my X-Acto, and the grip on it has a good texture for snakes and reptiles, and so does my needle tool. So you just rub that gently around and use this beaded tool and just make some scale-like texture. And here we're starting to make the head out of some tin foil. Now this is not an exact replica of a viper. It's inspired by a viper because I didn't quite know what I was going for when I started. So he kind of has somewhat of like a dragon head a little bit, but that's okay. Now we're taking our end of our paintbrush and creating the divot in the head, both underneath and on top. And then we're just poking out holes for the eyes. And now here I'm taking a little bit of transparent clay and mixing it with the awful herpes of crafting some emerald green glitter, rolling that around, sticking it in the eye holes, and then I roll out small snakes of clay and use those for both the upper and lower eyelid. And then I also use my needle tool to shape out the mouth and nose, and more like the viper, I'm trying to make the snake nose and above the eyes look like horns a little bit. Now I'm going to texture the head a little bit. And yes, I did not put the cap on that time. Whoops. And here we're measuring out the neck. Again, you're going to see all of a sudden it's bigger. We're going to use some liquid clay to attach the head. And now we are just cutting out some basic leaf shapes out of clay. Then you just take your color shaper or whatever tool you have and just make, the leaf impressions. The color shaper wasn't quite digging deep enough for me for the stem part, so I used my needle tool. And then just, try to make him as realistic looking as possible. And now I'm just cutting out little pieces. Okay, now you carefully take them off of your glass. And we're going to use more liquid clay to attach them. This basically just gives it more of a 3D look. Then you're going to take your frame and just make an impression so you know where the frame is going to sit. And I take my X-Acto and cut all along the side where the impressions were from the frame. And here he is, our little viper, ready for the oven. Now once it's all out and cooled, you're going to paint the whole thing except the eyes black. Make sure you get all those nooks and crannies because you'll see them later. Okay, and we're going to let that dry. Now we're going to do emerald green. And now we're going to take light green and dry brush it over the background to bring out some of those details. Now we're going to take some blue flash mixed with a little bit of that light green and do it on all the leaves so they look wet and healthy looking. Now we're going to take some white and lighten up that green color and just do a little more highlighting on the edges of the leaves. Now we got that green flash and we're going to put some of that on the snake as well. Give him some shimmer shine make them stand out from the background a little bit. Got a little bit more of that blue flash because we went a little crazy with the green flash. That way he has a little bit of variation in his scales. Now you take your black and you just outline the eye. And because I'm impatient, we're totally skipping over the rest of it and just going straight in with glaze, and we're glazing the snake and his eyes and a little bit on, you know, the leaves and stuff. And then we go back in and do a little bit of dry brushing with that lighter brown. Some triple thick. I started with that to make raindrops, and then I just went in with the regular glaze and just made little globs that look like drops and put it all over. And once that's dry, you just carefully remove it from the glass and you put your frame on. Now I'm using hot glue, but it's just temporary. I'm also using Gorilla Glue because the hot glue will not hold up by itself, especially the cardboard backing. And here's our finished product. Thank you for watching. Hope you like and subscribe. Bye!